Hello, Facebook friends and family. I'm just trying to log on to my Twitter account here before we get started. Let's see if I can do it. Well, it's fighting with me. How are you guys doing today? Jimmy, Joe, my faithful supporters, thank you for joining in. Guys, this is Suzette Martinez Valladares. I'm a Republican running for U.S. Congress to unseat the liberal progressive Katie Hill. Donald, Dad, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. This is my ninth Facebook Live town hall. And it is definitely by far one of the favorite times of my week where I get to tune in and talk to you guys about what's going on in our district, what's going on in our country, about how we can come together as a community to fix what's going on and going wrong in Washington. So welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm going to see guys. I'm trying to also do these Facebook Lives on Twitter. And let's see if I can go live here on Twitter. And I mean, I have this week, our Twitter following, our Facebook following has really been exploding in a great way. So I thought, why not? It's so funny. Like I'm pretty in tune with social media. I have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and it's funny that not everybody actually is on all three platforms, and there's definitely a difference in social media platforms in terms of audience. So I figured that I'm gonna go on Twitter live here, guys. So if you're on Twitter, you can watch me on Twitter too. Hi, Twitter family and friends. Suzette Martinez Valladares here, Republican running for U.S. Congress. I'm also started my Facebook Live, so you can also tune in to me on Facebook. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my week. This week was a very fun week. This past Saturday, I had a grassroots barbecue. So activists from all over the 25th Congressional District came out to my barbecue to meet me and to talk about the issues that were important to them. We had a great turnout. We have a lot of new volunteers on the list that have joined Team Suzette to help us defeat the liberal progressive Katie Hill. So if you guys feel so inclined to donate, please do so at SuzetteValladares.com. But if you want to volunteer, we need people to knock on doors, to walk precincts, to make phone calls. We need people who are a part of our volunteer team. There are volunteer roles that we need filled. We're going to start door knocking, hopefully sometime this summer soon. So we need your help. So please visit SuzetteValladares.com and sign up to volunteer. Variant, thank you so much for joining me on Twitter, my Twitter, Facebook family, and friends. So we had a really great barbecue, guys, this past week. And I wasn't surprised, but it's just so overwhelming to hear about people supporting me and really looking for somebody to represent their values in Washington. But it's also equally as frustrating because taxes in California are out of control and really affecting our businesses here in the 25th Congressional District. A lot of people are upset at immigration reform and the lack of true bipartisan policy coming out of Washington for border security. A lot of people are upset about how far the liberal left has really gone. And people who have never been involved in politics before are wanting to get involved because they are concerned about what's going on in Washington and what's going on in Sacramento. And they have children, they have grandchildren, they have family, friends who are also going through similar hardships really because of bad government. So it's definitely a recurring theme that I'm seeing when I'm talking to voters out in the district. But what I really love about being out in the district is just the diversity of our district. I love celebrating conservatism with so many diverse people and so many good Republicans. So thank you, Irene Trancoso. Guys, Irene is my aunt. She actually was my grandmother's older sister. And Auntie Irene, how old are you now? Never mind, guys. Never ask a lady how old she is. But she is an active, conservative Christian, and I love her. And she prays for me all the time. I know that, right, Auntie Irene? Thanks for joining us. Do we have any questions? Or actually, I'm going to talk to you about a question that I received. Somebody says Katie needs to resign now. Yes, I doubt that's going to happen because Katie is very happy trying to elevate her celebrity status. This week, Katie, or it was made known that, or actually the first time I've seen it, is for those of you who know who Ilhan Omar is, Katie Hill actually is part of her squad. So when Katie was, a little bit about our district, guys. Republicans have held the 25th Congressional District, representing conservative and Republican values in Washington for over 36 years. And Katie Hill won this seat last cycle. It's considered a swing district. It still is a top targeted district. It's considered a moderate district, swing district. And when Katie was running, she did a really good job at pretending to be a moderate. And she sold herself as wanting to go to Washington to represent a purple district. She really sold her relationships with Republicans. I mean, she would tout that her father was a Republican. But what a lot of people didn't see or realize is absolutely how progressive and how far left Katie Hill is. And so Katie Hill doesn't represent our community's values. There are several votes, actually all of her votes are staunch party line or left staunch party line. I mean, she votes left of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. The Senate, this past week, the U.S. Senate put together a very wonderful bipartisan and NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, that Katie Hill voted down. So aerospace defense are very big industries in our community. It's the lifeline of our community. And Katie Hill doesn't have our back when it comes to supporting legislation that supports our community, that brings jobs to our community. And she doesn't represent our values. This year she had an opportunity to stand up for our Second Amendment rights, and she didn't do that. This year she had the opportunity, especially being a part of the majority in the U.S. House, she had an opportunity to really look at campaign finance reform. But instead of actually putting together true reform, she voted for more money for herself. She's voted for a pay increase for herself. I mean, literally, right? I mean, how many of you have ever been to a job where within the first, 6 months, you're already asking for a pay raise? Wake up, Katie. That's not how the real world works, right? So very interesting. Not very interesting, but Katie is just definitely far left. So thank you. Yes, Katie needs to resign. If she doesn't want to resign now, then I will happily, take this seat from her November 2020. So I did see a question in here. Smart people know Democrats run as moderates and govern as Marxists. It's very evident. But, Chris, thank you for that, comments. What's so scary about what's going on today is I think never in our country's history has socialism had such a huge platform. I mean, 100 years ago when there was a very small socialist party in the United States, they were their own party. Whereas now socialists have infiltrated the Democrat Party by calling themselves Democratic Socialists and are bringing their party very far left. You guys are going to have to pardon my voice. I'm a little bit sick here, but they're bringing their party very far left. It's very interesting to have to watch Nancy Pelosi, who I've thought that for a long time, Nancy Pelosi was the liberal of the liberals. And to see her being considered more of a centrist is just kind of astonishing. But what really upsets me right now is how big of a platform this democratic socialism has. How many young people are being indoctrinated into this type of political theory and ideology. And they really have no clue as to what it really means, and it is the antithesis to who we are in terms of our American values and government, and how our country has given Americans and individuals freedom and liberty. A socialist system would take away the very freedoms and liberties that thousands upon thousands of Americans have died for. So it's super ironic also that AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who wants to empower Latinos and goes to the defense of Latinos, is actually supporting a system that Latino immigrants in this country have fled. Whether it's they've fled Nicaragua, Guatemala, Venezuela, Cuba, and the stories that I've heard about the atrocities that have went on in those socialist and communist systems is absolutely horrific. And people have fled their country to come to the United States, and for AOC to be propping up those systems is absolutely disgusting to me. This is something that I am very adamant about. I thank our president for stating we will never be a socialist country. We will never be a socialist country. And when I go to Washington, you can guarantee that I will defend our American political ideologies and defend our freedoms and defend the values of the 25th Congressional District. Donald has a question. I know it's a different race, but do you know anything about the two who will be running against Assemblyman Scott Wilk? Donald, I don't know very much about the two people running for the 21st Senate District. Now, the 21st Senate District is very similar to the 25th Congressional District. When they did redistricting last 10 years ago, or 8 years ago, the way that our districts are lumped together is you have two assembly districts that make up a Senate district, and for the most part, the congressional districts are slightly bigger or slightly a different configuration of the Senate districts, or at least in our Senate district. Senator Steve Knight is going to be in a very heated race in the 21st Congressional District for lots of reasons. One being the demographics and voter registration in our district have changed. More people have left the Republican Party to go to, actually not to go to the Democrat Party because they've actually lost registration as well, but to go to no party preference because they don't trust either parties and they're frustrated with both parties and for a variety of reasons. So the district is changing, voter registration is changing. This area, the assembly seat as well as a congressional seat, were targeted last cycle because the congressional district actually for the first time voted for Hillary Clinton, the Democrat, over the conservative, over the Republican Donald Trump. For many, many years in presidential cycles, this congressional district has always voted for the Republican nominee. Even though they may not have won the state, the district has remained very Republican conservative until last cycle. So because Democrats were able to take those two seats, mind you, with lots of liberal elite money from Steyer and Bloomberg and the liberal left unions who came out to knock on doors, they targeted and took those two seats. So they see this as an opportunity to also take Senator Scott Wilk's seat. So he's going to have a tough fight, and I know he's out there doing what he needs to do. He's a very strong Republican and conservative. He's a very strong campaigner too, but he's going to need help, guys. So all of the Republicans on our down ticket are going to need help. And I think we're actually going to have a very strong ticket. So just to back to your original question, I know it's not about this race, but I understand that one of the people running is a College of the Canyons professor, and the other person is an immigration attorney. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. I support Senator Wilk 100%, and you guys need to get out there and help him too. When you guys come volunteer for me and we knock on doors, we will be promoting all of the Republican candidates, including Assemblyman Tom Lackey and whoever the nominee is, or actually person running. I don't quite know if we have a solid person running for the 38th Assembly District, but that's something we're looking at too. Chris, did you see Dennis Prager at the hearings? I didn't. I wasn't able to watch those, but I will watch the hearing and do some YouTube Googling over the next couple of days to kind of catch up. If you have a question about what he said, please post it here. And while having not heard it, it may or may not be something I can talk about and answer. When will we see voter ID? So this is really, again, Chris, this is a state issue. I support requiring or asking that people show their voter IDs. I think it's a very common sense thing to support and to require. I mean, we're as Californians, we're actually supposed to have a valid driver's license and or California issued ID on us, on the persons at all times. So I don't really understand, the left's argument on that. But it is also a states' rights issue, so it would be something you would definitely have to talk to Assemblyman Tom Lackey or Senator Scott Wilk about, and what that viability of something like that is. So Zach, can you explain your position on economics? Open here. What do you see as times at which the government must intervene in the free market? Right. I believe less government is the key to booming economies and is the key to protecting our individual freedoms and liberties. I believe in local control and stronger local governments, which is exactly the way our system was created in its inception. I believe that local governments, whether it's school boards, city councils, counties, and or the state, should have more say because they understand the needs of their local citizens more as they get closer in government, right? So the city council in Santa Clarita or in Simi Valley and Lancaster, Palmdale are going to know much more about the needs for their constituents in their cities than, let's say, the random legislature in Sacramento does. So I believe when you have local representation in local cities that are very engaged, that it's better for citizens. Now, as a conservative, as a Republican, I believe that we need to get rid of our debt at the national level. I believe we need to cut spending. I believe we need to cut taxes. But I also believe that government does have a responsibility to have safety nets for individuals, not safety nets that grow exponentially out of control. But I do believe there should be safety nets by the government and at all levels sometimes. I think government, so in terms of regulations, this is something to talk about. Since the 1970s, there's been over 190,000 regulations placed on business. And I don't typically support over-regulation or regulation. I support smart regulations. Regulations that have to do with public safety, regulations that have to do with ensuring that we have clean water and we have clean air. Environmental protections like that are important to me, and I think there does need to be some oversight. But I believe when government tries to take too much control via regulation over an industry, that is wrong, and it actually suppresses individual liberties, freedoms, and as well as our economy. So I think for a long time, kind of maybe where your question was coming at is, for a long time I hear people saying across, mostly liberals, Republicans hate people, they want to get rid of Social Security, they don't, they think all poor people are on welfare, Republicans are stingy, and it's the furthest thing from the truth. I think that most Republicans believe that, there does have to be some oversight and government. It's when government becomes too intrusive that there's a problem, and there's a fine line to balance. Great question. There was another question here that I saw. Estrella, thank you so much for visiting and for joining us. I'm glad to see you here. Thank you for thinking that I am great. I appreciate that. My daughter and my husband feel the same way. So I saw a question here earlier. Caitlin, what will you do to fix the VA? Oh, wow. That is a really great question, and it's going to take both funding, it's going to take legislation, it's going to take working with the VA, working with the current administration, and then when Trump wins again in 2020, working with his administration to do so as well. There are a lot of things that have to be done. What I want to do locally is we have in Santa Clarita, we just opened a new senior center. And I've yet to go to the new senior center, but it's definitely on my calendar to get out there, to check out what's going on, maybe go play some bingo. I would love bingo. But because we have a new senior center, our old senior center is currently empty. What I would love to do is to bring back funding to our district to have a VA center created in our old center that could service our veterans that have fought for our country in a very comprehensive way at our VA center, whether it is a place where they can go to get help with their VA benefits, with their VA home loans, or whether it's sorry guys, I have a cough coming up right here. My Coca-Cola advertisement. Whether it's helping them with grants or with education, with their education grants. There is just a slew of things that I think that we could do and house under one roof for our veterans to go to. I would love to also see social workers available to them there. It's for anybody dealing with PTSD, both men and women, having family groups for our Gold Star families, Gold Star mothers and parents. I think it would be a really great opportunity to bring back some funding and to create something very unique for our district that helps our district. Because let me just tell you, if you live in Lancaster or Palmdale or Simi Valley, you are very far from a lot of services if you're a veteran. So if we could have it all under one roof and I could bring back funding for that, that would be one of the core things that I'd like to see done. Great question, Caitlin. I've been ignoring my Twitter friends over here. I'm so sorry. Do you like the side profile? Did any questions on there? Hi, Max. Great to see you. Variant, proud of you. Variant. So Variant I met at was it last week or the week before? I went to the San Fernando Republican Club, who meets the first Tuesday? And you'll have to look at their website. San Fernando Valley Republican Club. They meet at Galpin Ford once a month, and they have always been a very dynamic Republican club, very involved. That's where I met Variant, who doesn't live in the district, but he is a big supporter of Republicans. And guys, that's what's going to be. I really appreciate his support. He happens to be a keyboard warrior for me. I get attacked a lot on Twitter and a lot on Facebook. Some of our social media trolls are absolutely insane. So if you guys ever feel compelled to say something, go ahead and do so. I really try not read too much of social media because it gets really ugly. But anyways, he's a keyboard warrior, which we're going to need. We know the left is really good at social media. So all of you have social media. So I know you like it or you're capable of using it. I would love to have you guys even canvass on social media for me to take back this seat. So Variant lives outside of the district, but it's so important. You know, this seat was the last Republican stronghold in Los Angeles County. We currently have no Republicans representing U.S. Congress from LA County anymore. The LA delegation is 100% Democrat. We can flip this seat, but we also need the support of our surrounding areas who, you know, they may or may, this is a competitive seat. And I'm not saying that we don't need to be on the ground, door knocking, engaging our neighbors if you don't live in this district. And if you live in a district that is not a competitive Republican district, it's very important to be active. But we need your help too. So if you live right outside the district, if you can put together a phone bank and you live in, you know, Marina Del Rey. Do I have friends in Marina Del Rey? I don't know. If you live in San Diego, Tony Kavarik is joining us. He's the chairman of the San Diego Republican Party, the largest Republican party in California, if not the United States. They're one of the best for sure. Tony is a great leader. He's done amazing things with that county party. But it's important that all over the state, if we can put together people to make phone calls, to do a bus ride, to knock on doors, that's the way that we're going to take back this seat. And this is one of the 7 seats that we're going to flip back. But in this district, we have an opportunity to take 3 seats for Republicans: the Assembly seat in the 38th, the congressional seat, the 25th congressional seat that I'm running for, to unseat Katie Hill, as well as make sure that we keep Assemblyman Tom Lackey and Senator Scott Wilk. So it's a tribe effort, guys, and just because you don't live in the district doesn't mean you can't help. I see another question. I'm finally, 9 weeks in, guys. 9 weeks in of doing these Facebook live town halls. I'm finally seeing that there's a little blue bar that tells you have more questions, or people that are asking questions. Trolling is a sport. Where are they? Trolling is a sport. So is politics, guys. I say it's a contact sport because you have to be aggressive. You have to know your values. You have to know who you are. You have to know who you stand for. You have to be very opinionated, but you also have to be open-minded and in terms of truly representing your constituency, which is very clear that we do not have with our current representative, Katie Hill, who just this past week called the president, or called out white supremacy. I am 100% against white supremacy. There's no place for it in our government, but any prejudice or racism should be devoid in our government. And Katie likes to pick and choose the things that she defends or calls out, so long as they fit her liberal left agenda. And that's not what we need, guys. We need people who are going to stand up for true American values, that are going to stand up for every American, and really be leaders, not followers, and are really going to be worried about their constituency, not their celebrity status. So, Sabrina Marie, do you support Alabama's heartbeat bill? That's a really great question. I go back, when it comes, I am a limited government conservative, and I believe in local control. And if Alabama wants to pass that legislation, and if Alabama's voters want to vote for the representatives who pass that legislation, or if they want to vote for that legislation through direct democracy, I believe that the state and the people of their state should have the right to do so. Now, I've said all along that I am personally pro-life. That's how I was raised. I'm a Christian. I will teach my daughter. I will raise my daughter the same way. I believe life begins at inception. And I also believe that government needs to stay out of our bedroom and out of our lives. So in terms of, do I support Alabama's heartbeat bill, I really leave it up to the citizens and the legislature in Alabama. Now, that's not to say that I don't think that this question is going to be brought to the Supreme Court, especially when we see the divide in the spectrum on abortion right now. I mean, you have this heartbeat bill in Alabama, and then on the opposite end of the spectrum, which is absolutely immoral and disgusting, you have the New York legislature looking at infanticide, literally saying that you can kill an unborn baby, and actually a born baby, right? Because that child can be being born, and that infanticide bill would allow the abortion of that, the killing, the murder of that unborn child, or that born child. I keep on saying unborn child because it's been crazy for me to wrap my mind around the fact that with infanticide and what's going on in New York, the child is actually born. It's absolutely nuts. It also shows that there's probably going to be a lot of lawsuits. This is going to go to the I would imagine, go to the Supreme Court. Somewhere along the line, there's going to be a case that gets brought before the Supreme Court. Will the Supreme Court hear it? We'll see. Will they overturn Roe v. Wade? I don't know. I mean, it's, if I had a crystal ball, maybe. But great question, and it's, great question. So we also have, I'm going to check Twitter, see if I have any questions. We have quite a few. Vortex, yes, I'm going after Katie Hill's seat, California's 25th Congressional District, which encompasses Simi Valley, a small portion of the Los Angeles City, Porter Ranch, as well as the city of Santa Clarita Valley, and incorporated Santa Clarita, Agua Dulce, Acton, Palmdale, Lancaster. That is the 25th Congressional District. For those of you who want to come out and talk to me, I know sometimes when we're doing these Facebook Lives, it's fun to just watch me, but I also am doing on the 27th at Malcolm's Steakhouse at 10 a.m. in Pear Blossom. We are doing a coffee meet and greet. Would love for you guys to come out, grab a cup of coffee. I'll talk to you guys a bit more about why I'm running, about what issues I'm most concerned about, as well as talk with you one-on-one about the issues that are important to you. You can sign up to volunteer and to be a part of the campaign team there as well. DJ, welcome. Perry, welcome. Thank you so much. So before I head out, because I am sick and I'm going to try and save I could actually be on this for an hour with you guys because you guys are so great. But before I head out, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the reason that I'm running. So I've been a Republican since 1999. I think that's when I registered to vote, right? That's when I turned, 1999, 1998, 1999. When Al Gore spoke at Fairfax High, everything he said directly contradicted the values that my parents taught me. And I knew I wasn't a Democrat. I looked around me, I looked at the high school dropout rate, I looked at the time there were, policy, actually my junior high years, there were policy initiatives that I completely disagreed with. I knew I wasn't a Democrat, but I didn't understand what it meant to be a Republican. So I looked into it a little bit, and I knew I didn't stand for what Al Gore were talking about. So I looked into being a Republican, and the values resonated with me. So I registered as a Republican. Thank you, Al Gore. He invented the internet, and thus Facebook, maybe. Maybe he invented Facebook too. And conservative Republican Suzette Martinez Valladares. I have been super engaged in Republican and helping to elect Republicans across California, across our district, across the United States, because I believe Republican values and principles lift up all people. They see no color. They want to give everybody equal opportunity. Equal opportunity doesn't always mean equal outcome, but equal opportunity. They believe in freedom and liberty. They believe that government should stay out of your business. And this is who I am. As a woman, as a Latina, and now as a mother, these are things I believe in more passionately than I really ever have. When we lost this sea, I love living in a community with so many conservatives. I didn't have that when I lived in the San Fernando Valley, and that was okay because I have a lot of friends and family who are Democrats, who are not as conservative as I am, and they don't need to be. They just need to vote for me. But when I decided to run, it's because it was really for two reasons. My daughter, the first being my daughter, who, for those of you who are parents, when you have a child and when you know, I had 20 nieces and nephews, and I thought I knew a thing about two and about loving children and about wanting a brighter future for them. But when you actually have a child, your priorities change and the future means more to you than you could have ever imagined. And for me, it's a sacrifice to run. It's a sacrifice of privilege and an honor to run for office, to represent our community. But when it comes down to it, the long hours, the scrutiny, the hard decisions, I do it all because I want a better America for Charlotte. And she is who, seeing her grow and wanting a safe America for her, wanting her to have a quality education, wanting her to live the American dream, wanting government to respect her individual freedom and liberties. This sacrifice is worth it for her and really for your children and your grandchildren. Children are our future, and we as a society and government representing people in Washington need to think about our next generation. And that's not what's happening right now. People are more concerned about their celebrity status. People are more concerned about partisanship and divide. People are more concerned about calling each other racist. People are more concerned about tearing our country apart than coming to the table to actually fix the issues that mean something to our neighbors, that mean something for our children. And it's a core reason why I've decided to run to represent the 25th Congressional District. The last reason I decided to run is because of my mother, who on July 31st will actually be 1 year since she went home to be with Jesus. And she, for those of you who don't know, she was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer last May. And it was a time of my life where I was a new mama. I think Charlotte had just turned 1. I had left my job as an executive director doing something that I loved to start my own business for lots of reasons, so I could be home with Charlotte. And my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. She had actually been in remission for 6 years. Come to find out that pancreatic cancer is one of the most lethal, one of the top 3 lethal cancers. It's a slow-growing cancer, but there's literally been no advancement in diagnosis or early diagnosis that would actually save lives in over 50 years. So I found myself being her full-time caregiver. I was responsible for her advance directive. I was her power of attorney. I was her healthcare advocate. I was literally fighting with insurance agencies for her hospice care in the last 4 days of her life. My mother, who was my best friend, she was my biggest advocate. She happened to be a Democrat, a JFK Democrat, was one of the most compassionate people I've ever met. One of the most stubborn Puerto Ricans I've ever met as well, or maybe that's a Puerto Rican thing. But my mother really cared about sacrificing and helping others, and that's what she taught me. So spending that time with her, watching that battle, understanding that a universal single-payer healthcare system would give patients and doctors less control, would lower quality, would decrease access and increase cost. Guys, I couldn't just sit back and not do something about it. My mom taught me that when you are called to action by the Lord or by the community, you jump. And my mother lived that life that way, and she inspired me and continues to inspire me every day to fight for our community and to fight for you. So those are the two core reasons why I decided to run for U.S. Congress. And they're what get me through some of those difficult moments with the trolls. So guys, I really appreciate you tuning in tonight. I'm Suzette Martinez Valladares. This was my 9th Facebook Live Town Hall. I know that you're probably getting ready for bedtime routine like I am. I will see you next week. Same time, 8 p.m. Facebook Live. Invite your friends. And also come out to Malcolm's, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. Before I go, I just want to add one more thing. I want to congratulate one of my best friends, Frankie, who just this past 2 weeks ago, actually, was sworn in as a detective. She was promoted to detective for LAPD. And guys, what's so amazing about her and about her her being promoted to detective is that she is a mama of twin babies, a boy and a girl. So when mamas put their mind to something, they know you just get it done. Mamas get things done. So congratulations, Frankie. I'm so proud of you. You are so inspiring, and you do it as a mama with conviction. Congratulations. It's something that you deserve, as well deserved. And thank you so much, everyone else. I hope you have a wonderful night.